Yulia Van Doren, you are so welcome to Livsenergy. We are happy to have you here. How are you?
I'm so well. Thank you for having me. I'm looking forward to this chat.
Me too. And chat, it is supposed to be a personal and spontaneous chat. That's the way I like it, at least.
Yeah.
So Yulia, you are the author of Kristallmagi, which is the Swedish name for your latest book, Crystallize in English.
Yeah.
So you have written at least 2 books, and both are within crystals. But I know that you do more than that.
You want to start there?
Yes, I want to start there. Who are you? Give us your picture, your full picture.
Well, I have written only 2 books. I'm sort of working on a third, and they are both about crystals. But yes, my life is, I have a second life as an opera singer, and that has been my career. So I've spent the last, a long time, it feels like, traveling the world singing classical music. And yeah, this crystal chapter is sort of unexpected, even though it's more related than it might seem when you first look at it, because crystals and music both work with vibration, and classical music is such a specific vibration that there's a lot of alignment between the feeling of crystals and classical music. So actually it really makes sense, even though when I started to feel so called to share more about crystals publicly, I thought, what is this? Am I losing my mind? It was just, it was different from this kind of very traditional career that I was in. I still am in, I still sing. So yeah, that is my other life. And when I started the crystals thing, it's a little hard. Well, it was hard for me to show up in 2 different ways. And so at first I really hid. I feel like the last 5 years have been a bit of an identity crisis. So still figuring that one out. But yeah, that is, so my life work is, my life work is vibration, but basically I do music and I do crystals, and they're very deeply important to me.
But gosh, Yulia, my life is vibration. How much better can it be? Vibration and frequency.
Yeah.
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 So the funny thing is, when I thought about this interview, I was figuring out, so opera singer, crystals, magic, because I know that you believe in magic. What is the thing that binds everything together? And you just said it. It's the vibration, because you're also a sound healer.
Well, yes, anyone who does music. I was going to say anyone who does music is a sound healer, but then the truth is, I think everyone can do music. We all can make sounds. If you're able to speak, you can make a sound with your throat. Everyone can sing, even if you think you can't, or you think you don't sound good. That's a big passion of mine, to sort of help people find their sound and feel brave to express their sound. And yeah, so the vibration is what joins all of this together.
Mm-hmm. Fantastic. So I know from your homepage and so on that you are you are published, you are talked about in worldwide media about your performance and your fantastic voice. Mm-hmm. And that fantastic voice is also evident here in this book. So it's a beautifully written book, and it's like a little, do you say caramel?
Yeah.
Candy piece of candy
Yeah. Oh, I know. I love those. Yeah, I love the photos. I mean, I'm very, I guess the word is proud. Like I love these books very much. And I'm so grateful that they have found a worldwide audience, truly. I mean, yeah, it's so meaningful. So again, thank you for bringing it to your part of the world. And I really am so grateful to everyone who's bringing it into their homes and lives, because otherwise, yeah, they would just sit on a shelf somewhere and not live. So
very true. It's very true. So when you talk, I think it's funny to hear you talk about your introduction to crystals and that world. I mean, being an opera singer, it's very accepted and it's impressive, and people look up to you for that. Maybe it's not the same. It's not so easy in the healing world and our esoteric field. However, I think it's super brave, and to actually stand out and be part of this like an official person. And the more we are, the better we will do in the future. So when you say it's like an identity crisis, or you're still figuring this out, I think everyone more or less is. What are you thinking about? What are your fears? What are your challenges in this?
And currently, or through this whole journey of crystals?
Yeah, both.
Well, one of the so the field of classical music, it's, music is something which I said anyone can do and anyone should do. However, the part of it that I chose to specialize in classical music is there's such an emphasis on craft. There's such an emphasis on lineage and training. And so, I mean, I have a master's in music. I've studied with, my parents are both musicians. So I really started studying music when I was a baby, and I was homeschooled. So I didn't go to regular school. I mean, I really studied the arts intensively, and I went to college and I got a master's, and then I've had this amazing exposure to wonderful teachers. So you have that. And then you have the New Age world, which is completely, what does metaphysical mean? It means beyond the physical. So that which science cannot explain. And I am, it's been interesting to try to sort of stand in the world as someone who has had so much training. And then this other world, the crystal world, where there is no training. There are people who will train you, but the truth is that world, the metaphysical world, crystals especially, is not, it is an ancient lineage in that crystals have been used since as far back as we can find. They have been used as ritual items, as healing items. However, in our Western world, it's actually quite recent that this sort of language, all the language around crystals that we're all now quite familiar with, is being used. And, it's a tricky one, because it's such a fine line to walk, I find, as a teacher in this world, because at the end of the day, I want everyone to listen to their own intuition, and they can read my book, they can read other people's books, but we are just a voice. We are not the authority. And I have found that balance, but there are a lot of people in the New Age world who will say, I am the authority, do what I do, say what I say, do what I do, and your life will be perfect. And that is tricky. That quickly goes into the world of, following a leader who might not, I guess I don't believe in following, being very cautious about what leaders you follow. So that's sort of a long-winded answer to the complication, because I'm trying to be very conscious of not, again, in the classical music world, I've worked with a lot of people with giant egos who will say, this is the way, do what I say, and you'll, you know, your life will be perfect. So I've experienced that a lot, and I want to be very clear that don't want to be that for people. And I don't want people to fall into that trap with me. I feel like I hope I do a pretty good job of not doing that, but also with other people out in this realm. So that's a very long-winded answer. I hope that makes sense.
It does make sense. And I think it's a beautiful answer though, because I think there are, that we need people like you who wants to share their inspiration with other people rather than some kind of education or yeah.
I think education is important. I think the difference is letting people still understand that they are in charge and they have the personal freedom. So they can take in so much education, they can take in so much inspiration, but at the end of the day, they are in the center. So don't put a teacher in the center. Don't put a guru, another name for a teacher, in the center. I mean, you can put a God figure in the center if you wish, but then you also have to be in the center with that God figure. And that is where people often get lost. And there are, so yeah.
Let's leave it at that. It's a
leave it at that.
Yeah, we get it. And we get you a little bit. I think it's beautiful. So what does crystals mean to you?
Well, to me, crystals are part of me would say crystals are a tool, but I also, sometimes when I talk about this stuff, with someone like you, who I can tell has this experience in the metaphysics and is open to it, it can be, I have to try to keep it a little linear. So crystals are a few things. They are a tool of intention, meaning, for instance, rose quartz is traditionally associated with love, right? So if you buy a rose quartz, I'm touching my necklace because it's rose quartz. If you buy a rose quartz, does it mean you're going to meet your Prince Charming next week? Maybe, or Princess Charming, perhaps, but magic happens, spontaneous magic happens. However, even if it happened the next week, I believe the reason that happens is because when you buy a rose quartz and you're buying it because you think this is the stone of love, what you are saying to your subconscious, what you're actually not even just your subconscious, you're making conscious. I believe in love. I believe I am deserving of love. I believe I am opening space in my life for love. I am giving some of my energy, some of my money, which is energy, time, energy, for love. So, and then when you have that crystal in your space, which is, I believe your crystals should be either visible, so around your living space, or you can wear them. They should be, if you can't see them, I kind of think that the place they should be is maybe close to you when you're sleeping, when you're in the subconscious. So, but most of your crystals are seen. So every time you see that crystal, you're reminded subconsciously, I am someone deserving of love. I have love in my life. And then that is where the magic happens, because as you're being in that vibration, as you're living there, that vibration becomes stronger in your life. So that crystals, I also think that, again, this kind of goes back to what I was saying earlier about all the writing about crystals. We're using our human language. So when I say rose quartz is a stone of love, love is a human word, love, that idea, but they're also, and again, this is why everyone should follow their own intuition. I mean, I do think there's so much about them that we can't put into words. And so especially right now, there's so many people drawn to crystals where we're more open to, again, their vibration keeps coming up, to the vibration, to the frequency. We want that in our life. But again, to leave space for it being something so much bigger and so much more complex and sort of limitless than we can think with this mind. So that's, again, why I personally don't think that when you get a crystal, you have to activate it. You have to put an intention on it. A lot of people will talk about that. And I think if you want to do that, that is very powerful, because it does then create this link. And you are, if you have a clear idea of what you think you want, then you can start that magic. Absolutely. But again, you just bringing it into your space, you bringing it into your life, magic will happen, which you don't have to express linearly.
I get that. And it's kind of freeing, liberating, because a lot of things that we do in our self-help practice or whatever we do, it's a lot about do stuff, like routine things and stuff. And by hearing you saying this, it also allows us to just, okay, cool off a little bit and get the crystals that we like, and just stay with it. And the funny thing is, we sell crystals in the book club.
I saw.
Yeah, and when we started, I fell for what is it called? Labradorite.
Labradorite.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And it's a round stone. I can keep it in my hand like that, and it's quite it's chunky like that, kind of.
Yeah.
And I just fell for it. I didn't really understand what it meant, but I just had to have it close to my bed. So I keep it on my bedside, and sometimes I actually keep it on under my pillow. And one morning my husband woke up and he said, well, it's no wonder you have ache in your backache. You're sleeping on a stone.
You're sleeping on a rock.
Sleeping on a rock. Yeah, it was actually quite funny, but I like it. And I really don't know why, and it doesn't matter, because I just think it's so beautiful. I figure it probably makes magic for me anyways.
Absolutely. And see, the funny thing is, labradorite is one of the stones that I feel like does work most powerfully in the dream state, because it is a stone so related to the subconscious and to going within. So again, that's actually the way I would suggest, if you wanted a suggestion, to use it. So see, and that's the magic of following intuition. Yeah.
Thank you. That's a good thing.
Yeah.
So when you started to have an interest in crystals, what was your entry point, so to say?
Well, like I mentioned, I was raised in a very unique environment. I am the oldest of 8 children. We were homeschooled. We didn't have a television. We were technically even a step more extreme than homeschooling, which is called unschooling. Unschooling. So that's a belief that my mother had, that children should really be led or be allowed the complete freedom to follow their own interests and desires. So there was no imposed school structure. Mm-hmm. I wouldn't actually do that with my own children, but it was a very interesting way to grow up. I'm the oldest, so I actually had more structure than my younger siblings. So I would say I was homeschooled, so I did have more structure, but then they were unschooled. And then actually my youngest siblings started going to school. They wanted more structure. But I say all this to say that I was raised by a mother who's very interested in the metaphysics. And so that was very much in my life, my whole childhood. I mean, just everything from, the classic, like learning Reiki when I was very young. And my family lived on a Hindu ashram for a while. So I've always had a real draw to crystals and the metaphysics, and I've always studied it, but it was not, like I said, I went, I was a very, very serious musician and ambitious. So I lived in that world. And then when I was a bit over 30, I moved to where I live right now. I moved from New York City to a tiny town in California, Northern California. And I moved because my family was having a hard time. I have a younger sibling with schizophrenia. So my husband and I moved here from our New York performer lives. He's also a musician, to help out with family. And this tiny town where I live is an old gold mining town. And my house literally sits on top of one of the largest gold mines in America. It's closed. So there's so many minerals in this land, because with gold, you always have quartz. And quartz is, quartz is like the stone. It's the basis. So many stones we love: amethyst, rose quartz, are different types of quartz. So a little while after I moved here, the truth is, I just started having inspirations, visions, dreams, whatever, word, about crystals in a new way. I actually wanted to buy a specific crystal, and there wasn't a store here where I could find one. So I looked online, and there was nothing. There was no beautiful, sort of intentional feeling crystal store online that I could find this very common crystal, celestite. And all of a sudden I thought, oh my goodness, there's nobody talking and sharing about crystals in a very sort of accessible way for the I don't want to say normal person, because who wants to be normal, but someone who's not living on an ashram or has gone to India and is encrusted with jewels, like just someone who wants to sort of live in the world and also bring the spiritual in. And it was like I remember I was in the shower, and it was just this giant light bulb. And so Goldirocks, my crystal
alias
brand, started from there. And I started on Instagram. I started taking photos of crystals in a very bright, light, and modern way. And at that time, hard to believe, because it's become this giant thing, nobody was doing that. Every single crystal account on Instagram had a very witchy, kind of goth or hippie aesthetic. And I love both of those. I have many friends who are goths and hippies, but I knew that would be not a welcoming aesthetic for many, many people. They wouldn't feel like they belong. And so that's how it all started. And I had this big vision of making a beautiful crystal website where people can buy crystals, and it's going to be this exciting thing. And then a few things happened. My personal life sort of imploded. My marriage almost ended. I almost died. I had an ectopic miscarriage. There was the intensity happening with my family, with mental illness. There was just so much. So I kind of like, the fire opened up, and the crystal website got on pause. And in the middle of that, I got this book offer to write my first book. And so then the last few years have been focused on writing these books. And I actually am now preparing to launch a crystal website sometime in the new year, which is really exciting. But for a long time, I would have called Goldirocks a business. Like I have a crystal business. It is not a business right now. The business word is it's a brand. It's a feeling. Which again, what is a brand? It's a feeling. So, gosh,
Goldirocks is you. Yeah, Goldirocks.
Yes, people do call me Goldirocks. Yeah, I guess I struggle with that a bit, but yeah, it's true.
You can be two, you can be that, and you can be Yulia.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. So, and my bigger vision is to bring sound healing into this Goldirocks world, which now has found this amazing foundation, and the foundation keeps growing. I mean, yeah, that is the chapter 2, which chapter 1's taking a lot longer than I thought it would, but we're getting there. So
probably for a reason, don't you think?
Has to. 100%. Yes, it's all meant to be. It can be very confusing and frustrating in the moment, but absolutely for a reason, for the best. Things happen in the right time.
That's very true.
Yeah.
And you're still married? even though it was
I'm
almost.
still married. I'm still alive. And the truth is, I don't want to, I've chosen not to have children, which, as any woman knows, is having children is such a defining part of the female experience. So that alone, trying to figure out what I wanted to do in that journey, that alone was a giant part of the last few years. So yeah, so it's again, it's all okay. Things happen in its time, but it takes time.
This is quite funny, Yulia. I have to just mention it very shortly.
Yeah.
For our interview, I work with my husband, and we're running this together. And I spoke to him, and I spoke to my other colleague who is younger than me, and a journalist. And I said, I'm not sure I want to continue asking our authors for their marital status, if they have children and so on, because I'm not sure it matters really, because it can be, it's all of a sudden I just felt, and this is the first time I voiced it, and perhaps, and all of a sudden you're talking about it on your own. Not everyone does that. And I just want to say that it felt like you heard me because this is what you're talking about. It's a hard topic to actually talk about loudly, because it's a big decision.
Yeah.
I have 3 children on my own, but I totally respect if you want to live without children.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, thank you for sharing that. And I don't actually usually, I'm open to sharing, I'm open to talking about children and that whole decision, but it is it's interesting that I brought it up as well, because I felt myself talking about it. I thought, why am I sharing this part? But I actually I think it's so important to talk about how intense the children thing is, whether you have them or you don't. Both sides are intense. And I'm very fortunate that here in this community, I have amazing female friends who are a bit older than I, and they have children, and they were so honest in a way that I had not found before I moved here. And again, a lot of these women are second generation, I guess what you would call, they would not, I don't think they'd want to be called hippies, but their parents were people who moved here in the 60s and 70s from San Francisco. And so they've been in this world, and they were so honest in talking about how hard so many parts of the motherhood journey are. And I just, again, and also how blissful, but I think there can be often yeah, it's just honesty. I guess the older I get, the more I think, if we could all just be a little more honest with the good and also the hard, because we all experience it. So
definitely, and definitely also respect everybody's decision about their lives.
absolutely,
go on with them.
absolutely, yes, absolutely. I also, like I said, my siblings were born into my arms at home. I helped raise them, so I also feel like my cup is quite, I've had a lot of experience of hands-on child raising, and which is another reason I have such immense respect for it, because it is such an intense experience. So yeah.
Wow. 7 siblings, and you are number 8 and the oldest.
Yeah. Yeah.
Wow. That's
Yeah.
the thing. So
Yeah.
how young is the younger one, the youngest one?
She's 17 years younger than me.
17.
Yeah.
Mine is 14 younger than me.
Really? So are you the oldest?
Next oldest.
Wow. Yeah, so
Yeah, 17. It's is it a boy or so how is the do you have
6 girls, 2 boys? And for you?
4 girls and 3 boys. Yeah.
Wow. Yeah.
Well, big families, it's lovely. I love it. Now when I'm adult.
Yeah. I know, me too. It's getting so much better as we're adults, just because for so long I was the older sister, and I'm 5 years older than my next sister. And then they go to by twos. So they're all this like tight group. And then I always felt so much older. But now that we're all getting, now that we're all adults, I'm definitely an adult by now. It's so great. So grateful.
And all of them live in the West Coast, or some live in
some live actually a bunch of them live on the East Coast. So yeah, I used to live on the East Coast. So yeah.
New York City,
Pennsylvania. Yeah, those are the two places.
So back to crystals.
Yeah.
What crystal do you wear every day? Do you have a crystal that you wear every day?
Well, I mean, technically diamonds, because I have this very tiny, these rings are not my wedding, but I have a tiny wedding ring, which has tiny diamonds. Mm-hmm. A classic answer. No, I don't have a crystal that I wear every day. And I've started to wear more gold. I feel like the last 2 years or so, I just felt very drawn to gold. Again, a classic answer. But I mean, gold.
You're living on top of a gold mine.
On top of a gold mine. My name's Goldirocks. I mean, it's very on brand. But there is gold is an intensely powerful metal, and I feel it's feeling good to wear. I don't wear a ton of jewelry in general. Actually, I literally bought this necklace yesterday, and this is local rose quartz, which is very special. But no, I like to be surrounded by rose quartz. I love rose quartz. I love amethyst. I love pyrite. I named my business Goldirocks originally after pyrite. I have a really pretty one right here. I'll show you. So pyrite is very heavy. It's a lead-based stone. It's a fantastic stone for grounding ideas into reality and developing a stronger core. And so something I personally struggle with is confidence. I mean, I know I'm not alone in that. And so sort of this, for me, pyrite, I really feel like helps people feel like they can bring forth what is inside of their core into the world, to have more bravery and showing up in the world. So that for me is a really important one. And that's why I keep it right here. I put this lovely stone here for this Zoom interview. I was trying to make a nice backdrop.
And you succeeded. It looks fabulous. I love the flowers, and I love that. What is it? Is it rose quartz?
No, this is Tangerine Quartz. So it's a type of quartz, or you could also call it hematite quartz. It has iron, which is making the orangey bit. This is it's a beautiful crystal.
Yeah.
So yeah. Yeah, I have a lot of crystals, no surprise, but I do, again, try to be quite intentional with not, I am quite sensitive to environment. So again, this is something that I've tried to do with Goldirocks from the beginning, which set it apart from, your classic new age shop. You walk in and it's just a plethora of colors and sounds and smells and different cultures. And that is fantastic. And for me personally, I find it overwhelming to my senses. So I do try to keep things I love this. I love the Scandinavian aesthetic, because I love how there's just a calmness and an order to how I've actually never been to Scandinavia. My husband's part Norwegian, but I can't wait to go because I think I would very much like it.
Yeah, I'm sure you will. Yeah, well, my backdrop is not as aesthetic as yours. Like I said to you, I'm trying to get some green in just to.
Well, it's still working.
Happening here with my gray background, and it's really dark outside. It's like midnight It's like black.
Wow.
And it's only 6, it's soon 7 p.m. and you know, it's October still.
I know. Well, it looks, I still really enjoy the minimal, natural look.
Whatever. But you know, you have more than 50,000 followers on Instagram. So that's quite impressive, I think.
Thank you. I laugh because I realized my average for the last few years has been posting on Instagram 12 times a year.
Oh yeah?
I counted that up. Yeah. I have I've had 50,000 followers for a few years. It hasn't grown. I never post. I love Instagram. Instagram changed my life because it opened this crystal possibilities for me. My book deal came through Instagram. However, social media is tricky, and I will start posting more as my, you know, I just need to find a new relationship with it, but or I need to hire someone to help me, probably more accurately, because it's tricky, because I get very sucked in. I get very, like we all do, it's a connector. And so, you know, everyone who comments or writes or even likes something, I mean, I feel some sort of connection with them. And I feel so bad when I cannot respond to everyone fully, or I just started to get very overwhelmed quickly with it. And then I just thought, oh, okay, I'll wait to post till I know I can respond always perfectly. And imagine that the perfect time never comes. So I just don't post. But yeah, I hijacked your question, but it's because I have a lot of feelings about, I'm a little bit embarrassed. I'm embarrassed I don't post more, but
it will come. It will come.
It'll come. And people are so nice, you know. The classical music world is tough. And when I entered the crystal world more fully, and on Instagram especially, people are so kind. I mean, for the most part, you know, and you just, it's a beautiful world. And so I'm just so grateful for every single person on there who I draw beauty and inspiration from, and who also is there for what I share when I share it. So, yeah.
And, you know, in the meantime, we have this book and the other book, and soon there will be a third book.
Yeah.
But before we go to the third book, I just want to hear with you, because this is full of crystals, and it's full of crystal nets, crystal grids, and it's full of inspiration and knowledge to learn more about crystals, their forms and their colors and so on. But there are not only crystals in here. There are also metals and pearls.
That's true.
What are the crystallized parts of gold and pearl, for example?
Well, I see what you're saying. You're totally right that gold and metals, and there's actually plenty of minerals which don't crystallize, don't form crystallized shapes, right? And they are included in my books. The reason I included the metals is because the first book doesn't include any metals. And I realized that so many people, like when you ask me, what do I wear daily? The truth is I wear metals. Most of us do. And my first book was also used by so many jewelers to show their, you know, they would keep it in their stores or on their tables when they would sell. And I thought, okay, we really need to be talking about the metals as well, because they're so powerful and they're actually what people have around them. So that's the reason I included the metals. With this book, I really tried. So the first book has 50 crystals, which are the most sort of common and easily accessible crystals. With this book, I will say they're meant to work together as a pair, because there is there's not overlap. I mean, I talk about different crystals in this book than the first book. And yeah, it's new information, but this book has more gemstones because, again, this book, I wanted it to be, my working copies.
That's cute.
Yeah.
They look like my books.
Yeah, I know, that's really, I think this was, yeah, I don't even know why these have, yeah, no, I know. Yeah, so that's why. And this also has the great thing, which I love about this book too, is that it has a lot of the gemstones, which again, in truth, is what a lot of people, when they're maybe not even into healing crystals, a lot of people will have some jewelry that has a gemstone. So this has, you know, sapphire and ruby and topaz and sort of those gemstones.
Yeah, I think both are beautiful. Both books are beautiful. And we chose this because actually it did have a different edge to it. So because there are crystal books, you know, around. And when you're supposed to publish a new one, you want something with some extra magic.
Yeah, well, thank you. I put a lot of love into this book. This book actually, I also did the photography. I didn't shoot it. I worked with an amazing photographer here, but I styled them all and I edited them and so the photographs are, and I own all these crystals. These are my crystals. So I'm very, like, this book is really, this book, my first book, my publisher is British. And so the photographs were done in London. And I didn't have, you know, these are not my crystals in this book, but this one is like fully my baby. And
100%.
Yeah.
But Yulia, your name, Yulia Van Doren, it's not typically American.
No.
Where does it come from?
So I was born in Russia. My mom's Russian. I was born in Moscow. And then my dad is American, Old Dutch, you know, been American for a long time. So that's the name.
That's funny. So your mother and father, they met in Russia?
Mm-hmm. My dad was studying music. They're both, well, he was studying linguistics. He's a linguistics professor. He was. He's still alive, but he doesn't teach anymore. And they met playing piano, and the rest is history.
That's fantastic. So I bet you have been back to Russia.
You know what? Only once. I had a performance. I mean, I went back a long time ago when I was a child. My Russian family does still live there, but I had a performance there maybe 9 years ago, and that was really special. So, yeah.
Nice. You will probably go back. I've never been to Russia. One day. When we can start travel again.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
Yeah. So lately, or the last couple of years, we've seen a massive wave being more and more interested in crystals. What do you think is the reason for that?
I think that our lives are so much non-physical. Literally, I'm talking to you right now, halfway across the globe, right? And the interesting thing is we're talking because of minerals and crystals. It is the minerals in this computer, in your computer and mine, that is making this connection possible. One of the things. And so we live in this this world that is non-physical. And so I think the fact that we are now drawn to incorporating physical objects, these are physical objects. So I think it's a way for us to ground ourselves. And it's also a way, we're also more comfortable than any previous human with the idea, with the, you know, again, we're living lives which are non-physical in such a extreme way. And so I do think that crystals give us an ability to ground. These literally come from the earth. They're so physical. And the concept of energy and the unseen and is actually sort of more accessible to us than it has been before. I mean, yes and no. Obviously, as a culture, we're less religious than we've ever been, but it's sort of it's a different flavor of that. You don't have to have a belief in something that you can't see existing. We're literally living it every day. So I think that's a big reason. I mean, do I think that there's a big shift for humans and we're living in an interesting time of expanding consciousness? And I mean, absolutely. So that is, but I mean, at the same time, I think humans are always expanding and evolving. And do we live in some extra special time? Perhaps, but time will tell.
Time will tell, definitely. Yeah. But it's a fun wave, though. It's a wave I'd like to surf on. Mm-hmm. Right?
Very fun wave. Yeah.
So you said you were going to write a third book.
Well, I shouldn't talk about that one yet. There's a lot that needs to come into place. And the truth is, right now, my energy is very tied up with getting this website into being. I really want to provide a place for people to buy crystals which is a beautiful experience for them. And they know they're getting high quality crystals, because I have people writing to me literally every day about where to buy crystals. I mean, you know, if you live in a big city, there's often a crystal shop, but most of us don't. And the internet is still a wild west when it comes to buying crystals. There's so much misinformation. There's so much lying. It's the Wild West. So my dream is to have a space where I can provide crystals for people. But wow, that has been a big adventure. I've been really working so hard on it, and it's taking so much longer than I anticipated. So that is where my energy is right now. But yeah,
I can tell you're kind of a perfectionist as well. You want everything.
I'm a double Virgo. My sun and my moon are in Virgo. Yeah. So yes, you're picking up the vibe correctly.
It's funny. That was my next question. What's your zodiac sign?
Yeah, I'm a sun and a moon Virgo, and then I'm a rising Libra. Mm-hmm. So, you know, those all combine to make, when I do something, it's usually really well done. Like if you want something done very accurately, hire a Virgo. But if you want something done, just like done, don't hire a Virgo. Because we will refine it and refine it and refine it. And
yeah. Can you tell when it's time to let go?
That's a good question.
For your own.
I think I'm getting better at it. I think it's where, I mean, yeah, I have that experience as a musician very much, right? Because you have to let go all the time of just, you know, it's 8 p.m. It's the time for the performance. It doesn't matter how you're feeling or what's happened that day. You have to show up and you have to be okay with what happens. So I do have that experience very, very viscerally and in a very public way. But with, I'm still learning with other stuff. However, I mean, that's the great thing about having a publisher, because you have deadlines. And when I got the deal for the first book, the offer was to write a book in 2 months. Okay. And it was a very, there really wasn't negotiating room with that. So again, I thought it was insane, but what a blessing, because I would have refined that book for probably ever. We would not be talking. For sure, we would not be talking. So
and I wouldn't have a book.
You definitely would not have
working on the first one.
No. And I mean, the truth is also the amazing thing. I mean, COVID absolutely decimated the performing arts. So again, what a huge gift that the crystals came through for me when they did, because like I said, I thought I was possibly losing my mind a bit. However, it has just made the last year's my life is completely different, and it's completely different than what it would have been if I hadn't followed this crazy hunch. So again, have to follow the magic.
It sounds like you have followed that hunch a bit just by moving from the East Coast to the West Coast to the gold pile. Everything starts from there.
Yeah.
So what is the name of the little city or the town that you're living in right now?
It's called Grass Valley. There's Grass Valley and Nevada City are twin towns.
Yeah.
It's about 2.5 hours from San Francisco in the mountains, in the foothills. And it's a very special little place. I'm very grateful. I don't know, it's the middle of the fire land. So that's been hugely challenging. So I don't know I don't know what the future holds, but it is a special place. And I'm so grateful to be here.
Yeah. Let's pray for that fire situation to calm down in the future.
Yes.
So where did you find the Goldirocks name? Did it dawn on you, or how did you come up with that?
Yes, it did dawn on me. Like so many things, you get the inspiration and it's so quick. And so Goldirocks came quickly. Yeah, a lot. I mean, again, I'm sort of telling myself as a super Virgo, remember, things come quickly. I think the challenge is that we live in this world of super sharing. And so, we live Instagram lives. And so it can feel like you have to be creating and sharing, like have something worth sharing all the time. But creativity and inspiration doesn't work like that. It will come in a flash, and then you might have 4 months where you don't have an idea which you feel like is worth moving forward on. And I have to, when you read about the lives of a lot of people who's, in history, whose works have stayed with us and who are really meaningful, you read about their actual daily work life. It was not a constant work. It was a flash of inspiration, and maybe they developed it and then they rested for a long time. So, I mean, easier said than done. And also, a lot of the people I'm talking about are men who were not raising children, who had means, did not have to, go to the job every day. So it gets complicated. But I'm trying. Yes. Gosh, these are long answers, but yes, the name for Goldirocks came quickly.
Yeah, that's a nice thing to hear, that remember, things can come quickly. All of a sudden they do. You just have to grasp it and see it, right? So it doesn't.
Yeah. Yes, but I think if it's meant for you to, do, it'll grasp you. I mean, I think Elizabeth Gilbert shared this story, which has stuck with me and so many people I think it was a story she was sharing that someone else had shared with her, of this idea that there was this writer and she saw the idea kind of coming over her and she kind of grabbed it. And as she pulled it, the story came through her, the poem, backwards, because she was pulling it into being. And I love that. But I also think I have a lot of myself and a lot of women that I know, we really are constantly beating ourselves up about not doing more. And we feel like we have all these gifts inside of us, all these ideas, and we're not doing more, we're not sharing more. And the idea that I'm sitting with and working with myself is, what if the truth is, if there's something that you're really meant to do, you will do it. So maybe don't waste your time and energy beating yourself up about not doing all of your ideas all the time. If it's for you to do, you will do it at some point. And if it's not, that is also okay. We don't have to constantly be doing and creating.
That's a smart thing. You're a smart girl. Yulia Van Doren.
I sit around and think a lot. I mean, like I said, a Virgo. No.
So Yulia, our hour is up.
I could talk to you forever with my long answers.
Same. I love talking to you. I hope there will be other times.
I hope so too.
This is your second time to be introduced to the Swedish audience. Do you want to tell them anything special?
Oh, what a nice question. Well, I feel like like I said, I've never been to Scandinavia, but when I feel into Scandinavia, the feeling which comes is that the land there is very dense in a good way. You seem like quite a grounded people, and the land feels like it has this grounding. And so I would say, I don't know why people of the stone keeps coming into my mind as you ask this question. I don't know if you're people of the stone, but I think I would say trust your intuition, trust whatever crystals are coming, whatever crystals and minerals are coming to you to bring into your life, bring them. And if there are local stones, if not just, fancy ones that you would buy in a shop, but literally go out into your backyard or into the countryside and collect stones and have it somewhere, especially if you're a city dweller, have it somewhere, add a bit of your local beauty, grounding energy into your home.
That's a beautiful thing. One that you might not think about like that.
Yeah.
Connect to our origins.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Beautiful, beautiful, Yulia. I want to hear you sing also, but I won't make you sing here.
Thank you.
I can listen online. So
yeah, one day I'll share things, but yeah.
Thank you. So super thank you, Yulia, for your time today.
Thank you so much. It's so nice to meet you. And thank you for your beautiful questions and beautiful space that you hold and that you held. And thank you for bringing my book to your people. It's so appreciated.
Wonderful. I'm so glad that we could have this time together.
Okay.
Have a good day.
You too. Bye.